Hello everybody and welcome to another amazing video of DIY investing. The global markets are absolutely booming. We're seeing the Dow Jones now breaking out and making a new all-time high. We're also seeing the S&P 500 just right behind it about to do the exact same thing. When the stock market goes into price discovery, that is always the most bullish time for crypto. It's always the most bullish time for Bitcoin prices, and 2024 is shaping up to be a very profitable year for Bitcoin and crypto as a whole. For today's video, we're going to break down exactly what the charts are showing us, talking about why I think 2024 is going to be such a massive year, and then talking a little bit about what it's going to look like moving forward from here. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. And with that being said, let's jump right into this amazing video today. Alrighty guys, so here we are to start off today's video, and I wanted to start off by talking about the shorter time frames of Bitcoin, analyzing a little bit of what we talked about in yesterday's video. Now in yesterday's video, we were talking about this initial decline, and I said how we had 5 waves down right here, and so most likely that was going to produce some type of ABC correction back up, and our target was the 618 to the 786 fib, and we ended up coming right in between both of those, and then that's where we ended up seeing this short-term correction. Now in the shorter time frames, what we were watching for was more or less just this A, B, and C wave back up before what we ended up making next was another lower low and another 5-wave impulse, kind of like this, but just back down right here. That's what we were talking about and what we were watching for. Now, as it stands, we did see a correction from that level I was watching, but the dip that we saw instantly got bought up. And so in the shorter time frames, I wouldn't be surprised if we continued to trend up, if we continue to see Bitcoin kind of break up in here. We could easily just end up erasing this entire dip, and then this would end up being some type of ABC. It's just that the wave C would be extended. Now what we're looking at here, if this does end up reclaiming this prior support, because right now we're just currently right under resistance, right? So we're currently retesting the prior support, currently resistance. What's going to happen? I don't know yet, but we're going to wait and see. If we reclaim this level and we're able to get back above support, in my opinion, then that's going to end up seeing us for another leg up, probably coming all the way back up to the top of this wave too at like $44,000. However, if you end up seeing this get rejected and we start falling in here, most likely I think that that's going to resolve like I initially drew, where we would see a correction probably back down to like 38.8 thousand. Just another decline for a lower low. That's the main thing I'm watching out for with Bitcoin. But the big thing that we need to be paying attention for coming into the US dollar is the fact that there's so much more bullish momentum in the markets, and we could just continue to see Bitcoin break out and go higher from here. When we're looking at the dollar, the last video we talked about how this was just an A and this is a wave B before we were going to end up seeing this thing topping before a much bigger wave C decline comes back in. We are expecting the dollar to go for a brand new low in the cycle. I do believe that the dollar is topped, because when we're looking at the dollar on a long-term basis, the dollar's also finished an over decade-long bull run and an impulse. We saw a perfect 5 waves up after the 2008 financial crisis, and all we did recently was top from wave 5, and this was the first lower high that we were getting before, in my opinion, we do end up coming all the way back down to probably like 90 by the end of this bull market. You know, don't get me wrong, we can bounce in here. We could come sell off, make a little lower high before eventually coming to that level, and that's probably to be expected. But regardless, I think big picture, we're coming all the way back down. And when we're looking at the dollar long term, the dollar's always been in this downtrend, right? We've always been making lower lows and lower highs the whole way through. And every single time we top from this level, we end up coming back down for another one of these consolidations, and I think that that's ultimately what's going to end up happening again, because there's no strength inside of the dollar anymore. All of the big countries, the only real reason the dollar had value was because of the backing of gold. Then they took us off the gold standard. Then the only value the dollar had was backing us against oil and the oil trade, and then they pretty much have stopped doing that with the Middle East, China, and Russia all stopping the majority of their trade in the dollar. So we're already seeing everybody shifting. There's literally no reason for the dollar to go up. There's no reason for it. We're at a point of the dollar collapsing, and I think it's inevitable, as unfortunate that is as being an American myself. But regardless, that's what I think is inevitable, and that's what's coming for us. And it makes sense that crypto would see a lot of adoption taking place. If this is the true top of the dollar before we start another, big one of these sort of things, we got to expect that it would make sense that this would be the shifting point where people end up adopting cryptocurrency, because we're already looking at the ETF and all of that crazy stuff that's about to take place. Coming over here and looking at the Dow Jones, this is now making a new all-time high. And when we're zooming out here and looking at the long term, this chart just looks insanely bullish. And we've talked a lot about these guys. We were bullish the entire way ever since we broke out from this descending resistance. Once we retested that, that was really where we knew that the reversal was in. And so to see us kind of continue up in the way that we expected, it really only shows that this cycle is going to be very powerful for Bitcoin. Because if we're looking at the stock market, the Dow Jones making a new all-time high, the S&P 500 is right behind it. It's just about to hit those prior all-time highs that last cycle. And in our last video that we covered, we were just barely rebounding from our buy box that we had down in here, and we just made this big bullish engulfing candle right after. And so we pretty much knew that we were most likely going to be taking that next leg up soon. And now to see it kind of happening, it really is going to give the crypto markets a lot more momentum moving forward. Because like we're saying, guys, if we're looking at the altcoins, Ethereum is just barely flipping and breaking out of this massive ascending triangle. Ethereum is about to go for another big period of markup. I think that we're going to run all the way up to probably 3,000, all the way up to 3,600, somewhere in there. That's where I'm targeting. And so it makes sense that if the stock market is all about to be making a new all-time high, it would make sense that this would be the period where we also see crypto make this next leg up. And so that's kind of what I'm thinking is about to be playing out. We'll probably have that happening for the rest of this year, going into next year. I don't know when we're going to get the true top of that move, but regardless, I am expecting that we're going to get a quick move out of this breakout, because the slow consolidation was here, right? That was while we were accumulating inside of this triangle. Now that we've broken out, successfully retested that, this is the part where we're going to experience a lot of markup in price. And so we're looking at here is the DXY, being the dollar, starting to collapse. It's looking like it's ready to start making that new low inside of this wave C. I think that the dollar in the short term is headed to 95, which if we draw a line, it's going to be basically right there. That's where I think that we're headed in the short term for the dollar before we end up seeing any sort of significant bounce. And it makes sense with looking at the stock market. This is going to have to make some type of a run into that new all-time high. We'll probably see a breakout. I wouldn't be surprised to see some type of a pullback where we end up retesting that level again before that kind of makes us go into that new all-time high price discovery, right? Because when we're looking at Bitcoin on the higher time frames, it's been making this massive move, but we've already been watching for Bitcoin to pretty much hit this target being 48,500, and it's almost there. So when we're seeing the stock market just making a fresh new all-time high, you know, it's kind of hard to say what the heck's going to happen with Bitcoin. What if Bitcoin just keeps going up? And what if Bitcoin runs all the way up near those all-time highs? I don't know what's going to happen. And one of the biggest learning experiences I ever had was actually the cycle in 2019, because I remember being down in here and just never assuming that Bitcoin would go straight to 14K to just begin a new cycle, especially not after 3 months after an 80% correction. I just didn't think that was possible. I had watched all the other cycles and I'd seen how they'd slowly started uptrending, or they went sideways in a bear market forever and ever, and I just didn't find that possible. And then what Bitcoin did was it took 3 months and went straight to 14K, and I was thinking that it was just going to go straight to a new all-time high, and I was going to miss out forever. Obviously that didn't happen, but at the beginning of this cycle, with all of the mania around the ETF, with all of the new institutional involvement, with all of that kind of being the catalyst going into this next cycle, we would expect this to be the biggest cycle. And so don't be surprised if this thing just starts running a lot harder and quicker than people realize, because we have a lot more bullish catalysts than ever before. If the stock market's making a new all-time high, we're going to expect to see crypto performing relatively well during that time as well. If we're seeing the stock market making a new all-time high, crypto's going to be doing well throughout that. And that's what we've always seen. The stock market being the S&P 500, that index, this is the most important one for crypto. And once this one gets out of an all-time high and makes a new all-time high, I think that that's really where we're going to see a lot of the risk-on markets start to take off, a lot more confidence coming back into the market. We're already seeing it a little bit, but this is happening as we're just making a new all-time high. So realistically, the confidence isn't fully there. The confidence comes in once we're sitting at that new all-time high, because it takes the average person to look at this, see how all it's ever done since the beginning of time is just go up. Any dip you could have ever bought, you would have made money on, because it just continues to go up. And so every boomer, every person that has any sort of slight intelligence inside of stock market trading, they're going to be looking at seeing, oh wow, we're in a new all-time high. every time this happens, the market moons. I'm going to buy this. So everybody's going to end up longing this, and I don't think it's going to be the top. This thing looks very bullish, and it honestly looks like we're going for some type of blow off top now. But regardless, guys, this is what I'm seeing inside of the market. Seeing the breakdown of the dollar happening on an over decade-long bull trend, that shows that there's going to be a huge shift taking place, and I think it makes perfect sense that all of that money shifts back into the crypto markets. When we're looking at Bitcoin, Bitcoin's had such a massive move, but we are coming closer towards our resistance, and as it's doing that, Ethereum is coming and breaking out of its resistance. And so what I've noticed is at the end of Bitcoin, when it's getting close to the topping point, and it's about to start a correction, what we end up seeing is, Ethereum will start lagging, and then it'll start picking up and actually outperform it. And so now that we've actually broken this resistance, I'm not going to be surprised to see, Bitcoin kind of slowly make this leg up to this resistance, fill its way out over there, and then ETH to just make a really quick impulse all the way up to this resistance up here. That's kind of what I'm thinking is going to be playing out. A lot of that is just because we're looking at the dollar breaking down. We're looking at the stock market making a new all-time high. All of our catalysts that we really wanted to see for a new bull market is happening. Everything that we've been watching for over the last few months has played out. All of the breakouts, all of the retests of support, all of the new higher highs, we've been covering it. And so to see it all kind of happening is an encouraging sign, because this is the fun part. This is why we've always been covering everything. This is why we've been mapping it out, is because there's eventually a moment of time where the price breaks out, being right here, and then everything goes up and we make a nice amount of profit. I think we're in for our, maybe first true alt season, because the first one here was kind of small. I guess you could say Arbitrum was about one of the only ones that ran. I think that this is going to be the time where we're going to see a lot of altcoins pick up in a big way, and it's all starting around this shift in the market. So I wanted to cover it, break it down. If you guys found value, leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on any of these updates. If you guys want to join my Discord, see how I'm positioning myself in the market, any trades that I'm taking, any leverage picks, anything like that, it's all posted in my Discord. And once you guys are in, you're always going to have lifetime access. So if you guys get in there, you're going to be able to see anything I'm doing with my money long term, even outside of crypto when I take profits at the end of the cycle. So if you guys want to follow along, links are in the description. We have a lot of stuff blowing up in there, and it's been an exciting time with the markets taking off, and I think it's only going to get better from here. So thank you all so much. With that being said, I'll catch you in the next one. As always, peace out.